Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode.
Moaning.
Of Agency Exposed.
Yeah.
Starring.
What's up, guys?
Hey, guys.
So you were talking right before we started about Joe Rogan and Zuck's interview.
Yeah, I haven't finished it, but it was really interesting. They opened with the new Oculus that's coming out in October, and Joe was saying, it was pretty amazing, pretty cool, and we were discussing. One of the things they said was it super lifelike face tracking. So when you look at someone, you're not just seeing an avatar with a mouth moving, but actually your eyes, the mouth.
So pretty soon in Facebook targeting for ads, it could be happy, sad.
Well, yeah, I don't know if about that, but just like engaging, trying to make it your brain a little more feel a little more normal, like real versus just an image moving around. So, but got us into the conversation about mental health and all that good stuff. You were going to make a point.
No, I mean, well, Brad was saying earlier, which I think a lot of people would agree with, is that the challenge with all those things, is we all know there's mental health issues with social media, so it's like, okay, that's just going to accelerate that, right, and put it on steroids, and
I think it's isolation.
Yeah,
I mean, I really do. Human isolation is not how we're built. I don't think.
It's not good. A lot of bad things have come from being isolated.
It's interesting you say that, because what Zuck kept saying was, I'm passionate about this because I want people to connect,
connect.
In
I think he's already tried that, and I think you see what we've got.
Yeah.
The challenge, I think, is that if you ask people today, especially people who work virtually, and this might be a segment into what we're going to talk about today, but it's amazing. You can be virtually with people and you feel so alone.
Yeah.
And it's that loneliness, and there's an energy about human beings. There's an energy about everything, right? It's like you can take a walk virtually in the woods, but I think if you walked in the woods, I think you'll feel different because you smell the air. I think there's a energy that comes from the trees, right, that resonate with our bodies, and I think those kind of things we will miss out on, and those are the things that I think cause that feeling and restoration. And I don't feel like I don't know. Call me old. I don't know. I feel old.
There are, there's proven frequencies and energies, and that can be taken to some that may sound really weird, but there is that, and it does affect people.
Yeah.
You're right.
There's a study that came out this week from Texas Tech, I believe, or maybe it was University of Texas. Anyway, it just came out, and it was pretty groundbreaking, and you'll probably see it more in the news, but they studied about 1,500 to 2,000 people across the country, and people who are obsessed with consuming and watching news online and in different formats, it not only mentally affects them, but it physically affects them, so that it affects their physical health and their mental health from obsessive news watching.
Wow.
So, I know that's not exactly what you were saying, but it's kind of in that same world of when you are entering into a space continually that you become obsessed with, where you're the center of the world, and you become isolated.
And I think, I look at what he's doing, and from the gaming perspective, I have a teenager boy, so it's not very thrilling to see that. I don't care for more games. I've seen too much destruction from gaming, but I do think, like, for learning, I think virtual learning, it's really cool, and I think there's some good things there. I'm not saying it's bad, but overall, I just think that most people,
we have, human beings have struggle with the addiction to those things, to all things, right?
Yeah.
So like the extreme side of that stuff. And so what I was going to say earlier was, I do think that those things are a big challenge, and you would imagine that, okay, if isolation and mental health are bad now on regular social media, once it goes to the metaverse type of stuff, it's going to get even worse. It really could. But I was just thinking back, when I was growing up, I mean, TVs were already invented, but like when TVs were invented, I was always told about like how everyone, like at least my dad's family they were like, they were really careful about what that could do to you. And there were some people that binged into that and had effects of it, and there are others that had discipline again and kind of restraint from it. And then when I was younger, the Nintendo came out, like the first Nintendo with Super Mario Brothers, and it was like the most awesome thing, right? And my dad was really specific. Like he was aware that he thought this thing was going to destroy us. Okay. And I thought he was nuts at the time, to be honest. But now that I realize it, now that I'm a father, and now and not even just, I mean, I realized it way back then. Like that was actually really wise. It destroys a lot of people, right? Because there were people that didn't come out of their house. I had friends that like played for 10 hours a day, on the weekends and stuff like that. Didn't sleep. So we had a very specific time limit around that type of stuff. As I'm thinking, as you were talking about it earlier, as we were discussing it, I started to think back to like all of these things are probably not too dissimilar. They probably are more addictive in a lot of ways, right? Like there are more addictive qualities so we have to be more cautious. But I do think it just occurred to me like it emphasizes the side of restraint that we all have to have, and like I guess an area of wisdom with all these different things.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, you add AI on top of it and machine learning. What happens is you're just feeding yourself full of non-conflict. Meaning that, like, let's say that I put on my Oculus and I joined my friends, right? It's just playtime. And every person I interacted with was basically knew every little nuance about me to the point where they were giving me things that I enjoyed, right? Conversation was enjoyable. They talked about things I like, all that stuff. You're right. You can get to the point where there's not a lot of conflict. You can get, and again, I think it's just serving your
where the things that you're predisposed to are just given to you in droves.
Yeah,
right?
And like, maybe even enhancing issues that I have, right? Bad habits I have, stuff like that. That's enhancing it. Even though because the AI doesn't maybe know what's good or bad, it's not making a moral judgment. It's just making a judgment, and those kind of things. I don't know. I think are dangerous.
I 100% agree. The good thing is, like, I think education around these things hopefully makes people aware of like the dangers of them, because I do think they're probably more dangerous than the Nintendo was, right? Because they're just
you think maybe a little bit.
My point is, if the Nintendo was dangerous, which it was, these things are
which was more dangerous than the
TV, which was more dangerous than the radio, more dangerous than newspaper, which is more dangerous than the town crier, which is more dangerous than the horse, which is more dangerous than.
Well, and to think about it, like let's think about if that our society completely went to a virtual workplace where literally, hey honey, I'm going to work now. You literally put on, you put on a suit, or you put on the Oculus or whatever the next generation of the Oculus is, right? And you're in your own little room or something, and everything turns into offices, and there's people and everybody, and then next thing you know, Bob's there and Ken's there, and hey Ken, how you doing? Good, and you look exactly like you do now, and we're able to do stuff to work on projects and stuff.
Star Wars hologram.
Yeah, it's like you work in this space that there's no need for getting out and getting offices. That feels lonely.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue, because that's kind of what we're trying to get. So this was relevant conversation because I think the topic today is around office environment, and specifically, practically, office space, right?
Yes.
And isolation is one of the things that are challenging, and human interaction, I think, is really important. I think we've lacked that a lot.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. So it's relevant to, I guess, what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that 2022, when we're recording this, it's an interesting time because there's so many agency owners that have gotten rid of office space altogether. There's some that are going back to the office, and most are doing some sort of hybrid. So I guess there's pros and cons, obviously, to all of those. But Brad, you're in a situation now where you're kind of deciding what you're going to do, or move, or come out of your office space.
Or instead of buying square footage, we're buying Oculuses, and we're going to connect virtually.
Yeah, nice.
No, we've been fortunate for the last 5 years to have offices here in Franklin. If you've ever been to Franklin, Tennessee, it's such a beautiful place. It's called the Factory, and it was an old stove factory. Stove, STOVE, stove. Big factory, and they've redone it, and now there's offices and restaurants and coffee shops and all this stuff. So there's new owners, and they're really redoing a lot of the structure of it. So we were told last spring that our offices are going to be where there's going to be more retail. And so they're trying to make all of the offices where ours are more retail. And so we're going to have to move, but they're going to have a place for us. So we're in a transitional office right now, offices that they've allowed us to go into until they're able to get the area that they're going to completely redo and build out. And then we'll probably look at maybe doing a brand new build out there. And one of the thoughts is, how much square footage do you need, and when you move and growth, and how many of your your employees are virtual, and how much can you work virtually, and how much do you need? And so there's a lot of questions right now that I have to think about, and to make some commitments. By next spring, I'll have to make some more commitments. How long of leases should I get? Where the trend is going. Who's on your staff? How far away do they live? Looking at financial options, like would it be better just to work virtually and give some employees an opportunity to do a little budget for like a shared space within their location, so they don't have to drive very far. If they want another office, they could go someplace. If they have family or kids, they can't really work from home. Those kind of things. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So, I think it's a challenging thing right now. I know for us, we've been a couple of days, we have flex days where you can work from home. But I'm a big believer in face-to-face. I have been, always been, and hated COVID. I hated it. I hated being virtual. I don't like Zoom calls. Mm-hmm. Still don't, even though, a lot of our clients are not in the area, so we have to do Zoom calls. We've always been doing Zoom calls with them. But it's I just feel disconnected. I think maybe it's harder for me to focus, to connect, and maybe it's just me though. I don't know. Maybe it's not.
I don't think so.
Maybe the younger generations are okay with that.
I mean, there's been a lot of, I guess I don't have data, but I have heard of a lot of opinions, and I've read data just on this subject, and on this subject specifically of isolation and separation between, companies, and if that's really net positive or net negative. I think most of it says that when it's 100% isolation, it's a net negative. That's definitely what we've experienced. We have, we're flex a couple days a week right now, and I think that even that is not serving us to the extent that I think it could if we were in person more. I think 1 to 2 days of flex a week is a really nice thing. Now, that's not to say this, like having the ability for team members who have who are responsible and mature to actually go and say, hey, because a lot of our team, like their parents and their family live in different places of the country. It's like, hey, I'm going to go home for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks over the holidays and work from there. Is that okay? Like those type of things can be accommodated, and those are really important, and we can do those things. But as far as a like sustained, into the infinite future way of working, I think the more than 2 days seems to be really does not seem to have a net positive effect in my experience, but it's been a struggle because there are I wonder if, and I say this like in humility, but I wonder if I tend to think that sometimes people think that that's what's best for them. Like, well, we all as human beings, like when we're comfortable, we think that's the best thing, like staying in comfort, right? So getting up and walking to my computer and working for 7 hours, then going back to sleep, that seems really comfortable. And for some, like that may seem really convenient. And I think as you grow, you learn that convenience is not necessarily serving you in life in general. And I think that there is some of that I've experienced happening, where sometimes I think the workforce may. Now, I'm not saying this is across the board, but I'm saying I think the idea of working from home all the time sounds more attractive and maybe even allures people more attractively than it probably actually is healthy for them. That's what I've experienced.
Yeah. I'll just jump in and say I'm a big fan of Adam Grant. He's an organizational psychologist, and he has studied over the past year and a half a lot of the studies and looked at the effects. And what he says, and a lot of people are saying, are kind of echoing what you're saying, is that the hybrid model seems to be the most optimal of all the studies, meaning, people can work from home, say on a Monday and a Friday, and they're in the office 3 days a week, or 2 days a week, or whatever. It seems to be the best because you can get that team creativity and workflow and face-to-face, which is really important, but you also get the freedom. And you get potentially, in most situations, more out of your team because they're not spending that time, having to get ready, having to commute back and forth. And, actually studies show you work more when you're at home than less, which may not be a good thing.
Maybe more hours.
Yeah.
I would question, and this is not a criticism of anyone that works with me, but I myself, when I'm just doing that, right? I wonder if hours of working versus effectiveness, or and I think where that effectiveness comes from is like the energy side of it, right? Like, I just wonder if those are both in the same direction. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just saying that's what the studies are. So, so there's that. And I will also caveat that to say, I know agency owners, people who work in 100% remote environments, and some of them have been doing it the last 2 years. Some of them have been always done that, and seem to be successful, profitable, and growing. And it works for them because they have a much wider pool of people to pull from around the country. So what I guess I'm hearing from you guys and from the stuff that I've read and looked at and other people I know is it just really depends on your management style, your desires, your personalities, because there's some people I know who have absolutely thrived and loved working from home because they're introverts and they hate that environment, right? And then there's some that absolutely, it's lonely, it's driving me nuts. I can't work at home. I have to go to the office. I've got little kids and I got to get out, whatever it may be. So it's just, I think what we've learning from this is it's really varied depending on situation, work environment.
My question is, and I think for a long time I believed that. I think I'm coming to the conclusion, though, at least personally, I don't know if it depends. Meaning, I think every human needs, we know, basic human need is connection and interaction, right? And so, for a lot of people, work is a large portion of their life.
For a lot of people.
Not everyone. You're right. So if it is, I think it can be really, really difficult for those type of people. If it's not, then it's a different scenario. And I think that's where I think, in my opinion, the "it depends" comes in, is like, what does your workforce look like? Because if they're all, if most of their interaction is in the company, maybe because they don't have family around or for whatever reason, right? Then they may, if they're working only from home, they may be really disconnected and isolated, and it may hurt them.
Yeah. And I mean, that's my point, is it's everybody's unique and different. And for some people, remote work has made them more connected and more mental healthier because they are able to use that time to either travel more or spend time with friends and family because they were at work all the time, or they're more connected to their kids where they weren't before. So I think there's a wide spectrum. So it makes sense that a hybrid model for most people works the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it works. I mean, I think about like, what if I lived like in this New York City or something where it took me an hour commuting every day, like an hour
more.
a day, or 2 hour, two total hours a day of my time. Like
All of my relatives commute more than 2 hours each way.
Each way. Whoa.
Each way.
So has remote working better for them, or?
They've all been called back to the office.
Really? Well, it seems like then, you know,
that's why, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that, I mean, I don't live there, so I don't think it's a good thing, but that is, that's happening.
So let's just dream for a second. Let's put you guys in a situation.
Put your Oculus on. Hold on.
Let's put your Oculus on. Let's dream. What if you guys had to move into an office space, right now, in a percentage, like how much more percentage of space would you try to lease for growth? What type of office would it be? Would it be more open where people could come and go? Would it be like more open space and more common space with more flexibility? Would it be separate offices where you might have an employee?
Is price not an issue here, or is it like reality?
No, price is, you're going to pay for stuff you're not using right now. So I think the question is, do you want to pay, because you're going to have to sign a lease, but it's probably 5 years. So you're thinking 5 years down the road, okay, this is a test. 5 years down the road, you have to move into offices. You know that, you may stay partially remote, maybe not though, you never know. What kind of stuff would you need for sure at that office to thrive in your employees if you had to do it right now? Like, would you sublease? Would you get way more than you need and try to sublease some offices so that then you could grow into them later? So that's an idea that I'm looking at, because I
guess it depends on what size is your team and how your growth projections, right? Like a 10, 5, 20 person agency is much different than if you say you had 100 people.
Of course.
I would say if I was just like, let's just say I had a small team and projecting, I think right now my gut says get a max 15 to 1,800 square foot space. Have a nice, decent conference room where you could meet with team and or clients, and then have workstations where people could come in and either work regularly or on a flex situation. But the intent would be not everybody would be there at the same time all the time. So it's more of a place where you can come, hey, we're going to have a team meeting on Thursday, everybody be here, whatever. To me, that makes the most sense versus because I think having your own conference room and your own place where you can invite clients is really important. I think that's the one thing about a 100% remote agency that's a little weird to me. You can make it work, but it still feels a little like, if I'm a Fortune 500 company, I'm going to probably hire someone that I can go see where they are and what they're doing.
Correct. And I think that's the challenge a little bit is like, so we had the option to go virtual, or because this new offices won't be ready, which we probably could have. And
that would have been the wrong decision because you hate virtual.
Well, I hate virtual, and
I think that's an important part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to have energy because you're the leader. So if you don't have energy around this thing, it's like.
And I needed a place that if I did have a client come in, we had a place we could come in. We had conference rooms. We could do all that stuff, right? And so for me, I definitely need some type of an. I can't personally work virtually. I can't go virtual as an agency. I just won't do it. I won't. I can't. I could, but I won't. But thinking about like growth and things of the future, my feeling right now is I may get twice as much space as I really need, But what I would do is I would probably be able to lease out some offices. There's a lot of people that are looking for like a cool office space that they could release because they have the same problem at home. They have kids at home and they can't work from home.
Well, that is,
and they can't work from coffee shops anymore because everybody's working virtually. So the coffee shops now are even harder to get a seat. You go into the Starbucks and every seat is full with a person who's there for 8 hours with their laptop. It's like their office. It's even worse today.
There's that guy.
Oh, I know.
That was always the case in Franklin.
Giant Windows laptop with his spreadsheets.
So yesterday I was at this coffee shop and there's a guy and he has this massive laptop, like he does music or something. I don't know, something where he needs a bigger screen. And then he has like a thing underneath of it to like raise it up. Like he brings he like literally brought his whole office to the coffee shop. You can tell he's been there since like 8:30 in the morning. He's probably not going to leave until 5.
Yeah, no, he clocks out at 5, man.
I know. He puts his little timesheet.
And he might as well work at Starbucks as well.
I know.
Then around here, that's kind of been pretty common forever.
Yeah.
So it's even worse now. I remember there's a guy that used to bring an iMac to Starbucks.
Oh, man.
Like an actual
iMac. Think
iMac.
about it. That's such cheap rent. You'd buy 2 coffees a day.
Absolutely.
I got a better one, guys. I got a better one. Yeah, I have a storage space, an air-conditioned storage space down the street because we keep stuff in. And you can get the real tiny, small ones. They look like basically a tall closet size.
Yeah.
I was in there getting something the other day, and it's air conditioned, right? A guy was sitting in there with a desk and a chair and his laptop working.
Oh my gosh, talk about lonely.
But I mean, I thought, well, good on him. That's pretty brilliant. He probably pays
$129 a month.
Maybe $100
first month free.
Yeah, exactly, for the office space. So there you go. Not as good as a coffee shop, but people can get creative.
Oh my gosh, that's lonely.
But if you're a designer and you just need a quiet place to work and get away from the kids,
for $129 a month,
not a lot of creativity, but yeah.
I know.
I would say, like, the way I would think about that question is, I think it depends on what your vision is for what you want your company to be, and to become. I think reflecting back on you don't want it to be virtual, and I think that's important. Like, some people want it to be, but you don't want it to be, and that's an important distinction, and you should lean into that because that's part of what gives you energy.
Yeah.
So that's good. I've considered, if it were me, I don't see, and this is just my business strategy, I don't see us being 100 people because that has nothing to do with the vision and energy around, because a lot of people attribute size to success.
right?
Physical size. I attribute size to cost.
Yeah.
Like, more people, more cost. I want more profit, and the way, at least strategically, I'm going about that, or I believe that we should, is with a smaller, highly experienced kind of team. So always sort of like a smaller team, probably in the 20-ish type of range. So that being said, is I probably, for this company, for Medicake, I probably wouldn't go bigger than that. Now, part of our plan is to actually, and we're currently doing this, we have a capital arm where we're kind of like acquiring e-commerce brands of certain sizes. And so I've thought of how that kind of that works, and that's probably, if you had, I don't know, in your future, like where that looks, but for me, if I were looking for bigger office space, it would be for that reason, for to accommodate both companies. But I've thought about the sublease thing too here, because people have asked us to sublease. I've had people say, "Hey, they're a freelancer. Sometimes they do a little work for us, and they're like, hey, I don't want to work at the coffee shop or at home. I don't want to get an office space. Can I, pay you, to work in a corner of the office?" I'm not completely opposed to it, but I've never done it. Mostly because like the cost benefit has never been there.
Yeah.
It's like for probably the relatively low amount of money, And now
Yeah.
it depends on if that's part of the model. Because if that's part of the model, like you could probably make it reasonable amount of your rent, I would imagine. But
And also, I think for me, that's what I'm looking to do. Is I'm looking to create like a shared space.
you want to find the right people for that
correct,
too.
and it would
because
be
still culture.
handpicked. It would
still
be
culture. Yeah,
correct. It'd be handpicked people who I know, who I enjoy, maybe, or somebody who's at least.
Yeah.
And then we have 60% of the office, and then 40% we're subleasing, which actually helps to subsidize our own fees, our own cost of rent and things, because we're not going to own this space, which a lot of that's been a lot of my thought too. Could I buy a space, and why pay rent to somebody else? Why don't I pay rent to myself and own a building, and eventually it has strong value, but. I also like that there's people, like, even if they don't work for us, there's something about having people with different ideas and different backgrounds. And, you're sitting by the coffee machine and it's just the dialogue sometimes that's really healthy, and just talking about stuff and business and whatever else. And you get different variety, things, and people see what you do and they go, oh yeah, that's cool. I do this, and this way to make connections. I have a friend who needs this service, or I have a friend who does this. And next thing you know, there's just more networking.
Well, if you do it strategically, also you'll be able to open yourself up for, like, if you need specialty things for certain clients.
Correct. And I like sharing offices personally with other business owners, because now you have somebody that you can kind of bounce off from, a business owner to business owner, bounce off ideas to, and so there might be some synergy in that. So that's where my head is going right now. I'm just trying to figure out, like, how much space, how long a commitment, and exactly what that space should look like, because it's going to be a brand new build. I can build it however I want. How much should I invest in it? How much should I not invest in it, as far as, decor and all of this stuff and all that stuff. So I'm trying to weigh all that out right now. And I've got a few months to do that.
So let me ask you this. Have you decided you're going to stay in the factory?
It's not a final decision yet. Only because, the prices are going up like 3 times. They'll be the most expensive office space in all of Williamson County. Yeah.
I guess you just got to weigh the cost benefit analysis. Like, is there a real benefit for being upstairs? I mean, it's nice and convenient for your team to go get coffee and lunch, but apart from that, is there really any benefit?
Yeah, that's the question, right? I mean, we're a couple miles from Cool Springs, which has 1,000 restaurants, great restaurants and stuff, and things. You just got to get in your car. Where this is like a big campus. It's a 150,000 square foot, campus basically. And there's going to be 6 different restaurants. There's already coffee shops. There's already some restaurants there, but 6 different new restaurants are moving in. I guess it's going to be a spectacular place. They're putting a lot of money into it, I think.
One thing we haven't talked about, and it probably will bleed over maybe into another episode, but let's say, we all 3 believe in having a space where you can at least have full-time or hybrid environments. It then begs the question of, okay, 5 years from now, what's the workforce going to look like, and what are they going to desire, and what are your competitors going to be doing? So, for instance, my son lives in Los Angeles. He works for a big gaming company, and he goes in now a couple of days a week. And of course, he has to drive in LA traffic from North Hollywood to Santa Monica, which he doesn't mind. But his whole point is, I really like going in because they have created this Disney-esque environment, right? So he's got this full-on, better than a Starbucks coffee shop, a full-on lunch and breakfast place where they have like fine dining and cooks that make stuff for them. And then they have like weekly themes that they have. Obviously, it's a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
However, what it says to me, though, is the workplace of the future, are they going to opt for more complete remote, or in order to get them in, are you going to have to provide more than just a space for them to come?
Yeah.
And that's the question is, we know what we like now, but in 5 years, what is the workforce? And what is it that you're going to have to provide in that space, apart from a desk and a quiet place to come.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
And that's something I'm looking into too. Like, I mean, obviously we can't provide all those things because we're small. But one thing that we'd like to do is like look at the space. Is like, can we build out a really cool podcast studio in there? Can we do things that allow the space to be kind of cool? Like if somebody wanted to rent a space but also did a podcast, they could do it all there.
Right.
Which is a lot more common these days. So looking at like that for even from social media, like do we have a social media cool area that you could do on camera stuff? If you're a company, you might want to do YouTube videos and things like that. So we're looking at that kind of as that space as kind of being modular and able to do those kind of things.
I think that's a great business, and I think that's going to be a big cottage business of the future.
Yeah,
those type of spaces.
When somebody's renting, when I'm renting if I do decide to rent out space, that's got some cool features, for a certain type of person.
I actually came across this company. How I came across them is different, but like there are these spaces that are. Like I forget what they call them, like creator spaces or influencer spaces, but like they'll have like 13 different themed rooms with all, and you bring your own camera, you bring everything. It's just got the lighting and the background.
In California, quite a bit.
And there's a couple in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But that may, that specific thing may be a little fad-ish, but the idea of those multimedia spaces, is something that we think about here. Is kind of why I'm building out, this upstairs place to have some of this video and some of this audio, because we only use it, but like the idea is like if it could be really, modular, then other people could as well. So I think those are really important things to the point of bringing people in. I've always had the philosophy, and I think whether or not it's like Disney World-esque or not, I think, ideally, people come here or people come to a place to work, wherever that is, because that's the best place for them to work.
Right.
And they deal with some frictions in life because it's worth it. And so, the 2-hour commute in New York, the 2-hour commute in LA, it's not always worth it. There's sometimes that, authoritative, demanding side of it, which unfortunately doesn't work very well these days, right? Maybe in a recession it works better because there are less options and those kind of things. But I think you can't fail if you try. And I've always tried to think about that even before the pandemic, anytime we had people come in, because we have people that live in North Nashville, and sometimes they have a little bit of traffic. It's nothing, nothing like what I'm used to, but like have a little bit of traffic and it's a little bit of friction. But I love them. And so we want to make sure that it's the best environment. It's a good place to come and work. Yeah, but it's also productive, whatever that may mean. I don't mean like just like, you get a desk and computer, but my point is like you've got everything you need to do a really good, productive day of work that you believe is better than your bedroom or a coffee shop, which is why which is why agencies have coffee shops and like espresso machines and all these different things, because that's kind of the idea. But it's kind of like sometimes those things can become the focus and you lose sight of the actual thing. But I think that's an important way to think about it, is like, how do we make this the best place? In my employee's mind, like this can be the most productive place to be. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be Disney World to do that.
No, it doesn't. But it does bring up the point of we have gotten to a place. And I would say it's positive. A lot of people say it's negative, where we have to think beyond just productivity, but also creativity, mental health, looking at the personalities of the people.
Yeah,
those are all important things. So it's more holistic, and I think that's really valuable that we've gotten to the point. And it comes with difficulties and growth. Problems that we all deal with depending on where we are on that spectrum and age and generations. But I think it's going to make for hopefully really good, creative, productive, healthy environments. But as business owners, as agency owners, we have to think beyond just the square footage and just enough desks and computers. Yeah. it's all we really cared about for years and years, right? If you had a foosball table, great, and if you could throw in a cappuccino machine, even better. But that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
an office dog too, once in a while.
yeah, an office dog.
You know,
I love those office dogs.
I don't know.
Do you guys have an office dog?
I'm not a dog person.
Yeah, in my house, I have an office dog.
Sorry.
yeah, I do too. I got 2 of them at my house. Oh, we go.
Oh man, no, I can't do
thank
dogs.
you.
I can't do animals.
I love
Sorry.
it. I love dogs. Don't get me wrong. I just not when I'm working.
I
Unless
We need to get Ken a support dog.
Love animals outside the house. That'd be nice.
what I actually love is like an old golden retriever or a lab that like just lays down next to you and just doesn't all day long. Just lives right next to you. It doesn't no high maintenance.
I've got problems.
Yeah.
or allergies.
Yeah.
No. That doesn't sound attractive to me.
Did you grow up with a dog in the house?
No.
There you go.
Well, dog therapy is real.
Honestly, even just like we've dog sat a few times, and even just I feel bad though too. It's like it's not. It's I don't know what it is, but like if I don't like it sitting on me.
Yeah.
I'm like nudging it off me on the couch.
Though, is human touch is super important.
Yeah,
right.
Not canine touch.
Canine touch is
it's pretty far up there
it's
for
close,
you.
It's close to human touch. You can a friendly dog sometimes can that's why there's dog therapy. It's a real thing and it really works.
Or equine therapy.
Equine
horses.
Ooh, yeah. What I would love to do is like elephant therapy.
My kids.
Elephants are so gentle. They're cool animals. And
I've heard that. My kids wanted dogs so bad.
No,
they've wanted dogs for years. They want many dogs. They want a dog so bad. My heart hurts for them. And I literally have said this. I've said, pray to God. No. I said, if you want a dog, pray that God changes my heart because I can't take a dog right now. But I'm open to it. Yeah. I'm open to being changed. Yeah. But at the moment, no, I don't want no animals in my house.
Yeah.
Why don't you get one that you could keep out in the backyard? You have a fenced-in backyard.
It would be 100% of the time.
Well, I mean, and then maybe it could work its way in. You could like warm up to it, but you could have, hey, I'll get you a dog, but it stays outside.
Is there a dog that can stay outside 100% of the time?
I mean,
sure.
I mean, well,
dogs
okay, hold on. Wait. They're made to stay outside 100% of the time. Like that's kind of how they were made. But I don't know.
I think there's some
barking
dogs
would annoy me.
Yeah, that's true.
The feeding, the poop, I don't know why.
You know what? I've heard the same argument about children.
No, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that I can't change how I feel about this situation. Yeah. Some people feel this way about children. I feel this way about dogs. I'd prefer that way.
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
Yep.
Anyway,
so we're gonna get you an office dog.
And so it's funny because God has given me children that love dogs.
Mm.
They sit and hold. My brother has a dog. They love, and I love them too. I just don't want them on me. My brother, like they have a dog. Don't want him in my house. And they just hold him and they like pet him and they just
let them lick their face.
To be honest
I'm
with
like,
you,
great, we've got the best of both worlds, But my team, everyone that's here loves dogs.
Growing up,
I think God's trying to tell you something.
Exactly.
What he can do is he can change my heart because
I just want to let you know that actually bringing a dog into a family at a young age for kids I think has been really helpful for my kids.
Really?
Yeah.
Doing in what way?
I think it's a way that
responsibility.
It's responsibility. It's one more thing that is kind. There's kindness to a dog typically, and so it's like bringing that in. There's like a sense of empathy and caring, and there is something. I think it does relieve stress in your kids at some level. It teaches them to,
increases my stress.
Yeah, it does a little bit. But it's good,
Makes you go out and walk more.
Yeah, you have to walk them.
I exercise a lot every day.
I know.
No, I don't. Look. Yeah.
You know what? All the dog lovers are now hating
pray
us.
For me.
They're actually hating you.
No.
They're hating you.
If you're a dog lover, pray for me.
Yeah, please send emails.
I would love to love dogs.
Okay, well,
I'll say that. I'm open to it.
All right.
I just don't.
Oh. I would love to love dogs.
And I genuinely dislike them around me.
Yeah. I would love to love dogs. Cannot.
I would.
gonna put that
I
on a
would. I
t-shirt.
want to. I don't hate them.
Did you have a negative experience with a dog when you were little?
Did a dog bite you?
No, it didn't bite me. I did have a negative experience with the dog, but I didn't like them before that. So I don't know. And it was not. It's just like a comfort. Like I just like. It's like I don't know.
Have you thought about therapy?
Well, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to do. This is the case with anything. You know, if you're allergic to grass, you lay in the grass.
Yeah, exposure
Right.
therapy.
So I need exposure.
You should go down to the pond.
No,
the pound.
100%. If I had nothing to do, I had no job, and I
Yeah.
was like, I just need to fix the dog thing, I would buy 1,000,000 dogs and just live with them for
You
weeks.
should go down to the pound and just go cage to cage and let them look you in the face.
Yeah, no, that would
Dog after dog.
absolutely that would work.
About 20 or 30 dogs.
It
One
would
of these
maybe
days-
work after a few weeks of that, but I just don't have
One
the
of
time
these
and don't
days,
want
the
to do it.
right dog and you are going to connect.
Maybe.
You just haven't found the right dog yet.
Maybe
And
someone
you're
told me
gonna-
that. Someone told me that once, and they sent the dog to me as a little like doesn't shed type of thing, and it's my other brother-in-law's dog. We babysat it for a week. My kids loved it. Love it.
little
It was
secret.
a little. I forget what it's called.
You seem like a black lab guy.
Yes.
Seriously, like get yourself a good old black lab.
Yeah.
He jumps
Thing.
in the back of your Jeep.
I don't like dirtiness. I don't like shedding. I don't like peeing and pooping on the floor. I kind of want to hold the dog to the standard of human beings, right? If you like
dog's
Bob comes over to my house and jumps on my couch and poops on the floor, he's not allowed back.
What's wrong with that?
I mean, dogs are potty trained. So you know what? I just a little secret, and this is for another episode. But the way you don't like dogs, I don't like cats.
Okay.
So
Yes.
Well,
Same.
just so you know, so we don't get any hate mail. I would love to love, but I just don't.
yeah.
And so you know, if there are any strategies that I can take on, I'm happy to do that because my kids would love it.
You know, in Russia, they have domesticated foxes, and you can get one of those. What about that?
Oh, cool.
That's funny.
Pet fox.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. Well, this is a good ending point, I think.
Yeah. All right.
We have solved the problem of where to work and how to work and all that good
Yes.
stuff.
Until the next episode.
Yes. Please like our review. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.